Yes, greetings once again and welcome to CK Sports, our YouTube channel where we discuss everything African football, everything Ugandan football, and sometimes beyond the African continent. Clive Chaze is my name, and yes, I just applied reminder for whoever is yet to subscribe to this YouTube channel that it will take you less than a second to hit that subscribe button. Just join the audience today and be part of our growing family. We do appreciate the likes, like I always say. We do appreciate the comments and whoever does the noble activity of sharing our content with the different people who do share the same ideas like we do. We don't take that for granted. On today's episode, I am joined by a guest, a long-time friend. He has so many titles, but we shall stick to what we do know him lately, that is pitchside with Peter Tabu, a man who has made it a point to trot the globe, to trot the region in the name of this job called journalism. But of course, Peter, greetings and welcome to CK Sports.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I'm glad to be here. This is home. I know I'm always welcome. And I would also like to re-emphasize, guys, please subscribe to CK Sports, share, comment. We appreciate the love that comes through, and we promise that we'll definitely be giving you more content and bigger stories. Yeah.
Yes, now Peter, before we delve into today's topic, pitchside, what exactly is cooking? You've been treating us to lots of exclusive content of late. What is already uploaded and what should we be looking forward to?
Yeah, so pitchside was in Kigali, Rwanda about a week ago, to cover the 1000 Hills Derby, but majorly also to check out the Amahoro Stadium. I must say, that content of the Amahoro Stadium has received a lot of views and lots of feedback. So, yeah, good stuff. Really appreciate that support. We have a very busy 2 months coming up, which includes, the conclusion of the CAF interclub competitions, Champions League, Confederations Cup. We have the Afro-Basket, men and women. We also have the CHAN tournament in August, and the year wraps up with the biggest football party on the continent, which is the Africa Cup of Nations. And as pitchside, we cover all those events to Laventi, we bring it to you, and I have a very good experience. But yeah, it's going to be a busy remaining months of there.
Of course, Peter talks about the interclub competitions coming to an end. That will be towards the end of May. But towards the end of April, we shall be having the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League and the semi-finals of the CAF Confederation Cup. And that is going to shape the biggest part of our discussion today. Because just a few days ago, Peter, we had the quarterfinals, the return legs of the quarterfinals played. And of course, the semi-final lineup is already complete. But looking at what transpired, we'll probably start from Mauritania, where the defending champions Al Ahly did visit Al Hilal Omdurman, and they were able to get in there, win the game 1-0, 2-0 on aggregates, and they are into the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League. Of course, the tie over 2 legs, Al Hilal Omdurman didn't make it easy, but at the end of the day, Al Ahly prevailed.
Yeah, of course, the pedigree comes in there for Al Ahly because they are the most successful club in this competition, and of course on the African continent. You can always see that when Al Ahly get to the business stage of these competitions, they also step up the gear. And I can tell you that it's not easy to travel to Mauritania, to even play a game there because of how we have issues with our African travel and all. But the Red Devils went there and got the job done. Al Hilal were in the Young Africans group.
They topped that group.
They topped that group. They beat Young Africans, if I'm not mistaken, home and away. And you can imagine they are not playing in their league. They're playing in the Mauritanian league. But they were able to give a very good account of them. So for me, I'm not going to look much into Al Hilal being eliminated. I have to give them their flowers. But they faced a beast on the continent in Al Ahly, and they prevailed.
Of course, they prevailed, and in the semi-finals, they will be playing against Mamelodi Sundowns, who are in their second straight semi-finals. Mamelodi Sundowns won the first leg against Esperance in Pretoria, 1-0. They travelled to Tunis, played to a barren draw. Of course, they have never won in Tunisia playing against Esperance, but also they had never knocked out Esperance of this competition. This time they didn't win the game in Tunisia, but of course they had already done the job in Pretoria. And they were able to prevail, knocking out Esperance going into the semi-finals. A game I thought Mamelodi Sundowns should have won if luck was on their side, because they really did take the game to Esperance.
Yeah, first of all, it's revenge for Sundowns, because last season, Miguel Cardoso, the current Sundowns coach, was the head coach at Esperance, and Rolani Mokoena was the head coach at Sundowns. And they reached the semi-finals, and Esperance prevailed. I remember Esperance scoring that crucial goal at Lufthansa Field, packed stadium, and maybe that time many thought that Sundowns were going to, make it to the final.
Was this still a 3 p.m. fixture?
Yeah, it was. So it was tough for Sundowns to swallow. It was a tough pill for them to swallow. And if you remember, after that is when Rolani's tenure at Sundowns started being questioned, and therefore ending up him leaving and joining Wydad. But this time around, I think they were more composed. Sometimes you need to just see out the tie. You don't have to show that you're a bigger team and, you want to win the game. So they were a bit more composed. That's because they had Cardoso, who knew his Esperance team and knew what to do. And that's how they were able to, take out, Esperance and reach the semi-finals. So good stuff there coming in from Sundowns. I don't know if we can break it down now, but Sundowns have a different approach towards this. Yes, they perform on the pitch, but the amount of money they spend to bring in quality is another thing. They have quite a number of players they've splashed a lot of money on. Marcelo Allende from Chile, $3 million. You have Exoval as well, $2 million. You have Lucas Ribeiro, who is now their best player now. I think he scored, 16 goals, 13 in the league and others in other competitions. They've spent heavily, but they've spent right. And I think that is going to be the difference for them this season on the continent. I am sure they can try and push Al Ahly because they know how to deal with them. They faced them a number of times in the group stages, in the other stages of the continent. So
it's like those two have a date every season for the last 5 or 6 years.
Absolutely.
If they don't meet in the group stages, they meet somewhere in the knockout
maybe in the quarters, maybe in the semis. And just like they're able to edge out Esperance, I'm pretty sure they have an edge over Al Ahly. They just need to make sure they kill off the game in Pretoria, where I think the first leg is going to be, and then see how they can deal with it in Egypt.
Of course, later on we are going to be looking at the preparations these teams invest that does replicate the kind of results they do get on the continent. But the other semi-final, your favorites, Orlando Pirates, for starters, they travel to Algeria, defeat MC Algiers 1-0. Usually that is unheard of. Teams from the south of the Sahara traveling to the Maghreb and are picking up points. They go in there, they win the game 1-0. They come back home at the Orlando Stadium and they play to a barren draw. And of course, like you said, it is about seeing yourself through the tie and advancing. And that's what exactly Orlando Pirates did. Yeah,
the Orlando Pirates story for the last 3 seasons is one that has, if you've been noticing, growing by a season or improving by a season. Jose Ribeiro, their head coach, has really had enough time to build a team that can question some top sides on the continent. It's a balance.
Yet he wants to leave at the end of the season.
Yeah, of course.
He's actually leaving at the end of the season.
He's done everything, in my opinion. He's not won the league. It takes a lot to win the league in South Africa when you're competing against a Sundowns team that is buying players at $3 million. And yet you are trying to, balance the academy products and the local-based talent that you have. But for the past 3 seasons, he's guided them to a second-place finish. The past 2. This one, they are in right now. I think they are 12 points behind Sundowns, but have 3 games in hand. So if they win those games, they cut that lead and now go head-to-head with Sundowns until the end of the season. But they have really done a good job on the continent. Why am I saying this? They're in a group that had Belouizdad, Al Ahly, and Stade Malien. They beat Belouizdad home and away. They beat Al Ahly away in Cairo. They beat Stade Malien as well. They actually topped that group unbeaten on 14 points. A group that had Al Ahly. So, and you look at the quality of players, they've been together most of the time. You also have youngsters he's brought in. Of course, Mofokeng has done well. They have Nkota, the left-footed kid that scored against MC Algiers away in that 1-0 victory. They have a young centre-back or defender called Mbokasi, who is bullied that MC Algiers team, you know, in the return leg at the Orlando Stadium. And then when you mix that with people like Masangwani, like Evidence Makopa, some of these players also have been with Bafana at AFCON. So you can see it's been a journey of trying
work in progress.
Work in progress. They've had a team that they've been with for a while, and you can see that they're moving forward. So I'm impressed with how they dealt with that MC Algiers game home and away. It was tough for them in Algiers, very tough. But you can see when Nkota scored the goal with about 12 minutes to go, you wouldn't see that happening, actually, because you felt like any time Algiers was scoring a goal. But they kept calm until they got that one moment and took it and saw it.
I think the same approach Sundowns had in the return leg. The only difference is that for them, they didn't find the back of the net, but they played the game patiently waiting for that one moment, creating the chances, but probably that moment never came. But of course, like we said, they had already done the job in Pretoria. Now, Peter, Sundowns in the semi-finals are going to be playing against Pyramids, a team that was established around 2018-2019. Of course, they were able to knock out Farabat 4-3 on aggregate. They won the first leg in Cairo 4 goals to 1. They lost 2-0 the return leg. One more goal from Farabat would have sent the game into sport kicks. But they were able to hold on to their results on aggregate and advance into the semi-finals.
Yeah, for Pyramids, it's been years of hard work and pain, because we remember when Pyramids came into the market, Clive, we were together in Cairo.
Yeah, when they signed Uganda Cranes.
When Pyramids made the headlines. Number one, you remember that, of course, Sebastian Desabre was one of the people that was being quoted by top, clubs that side, and they spent a lot of money. They brought in Abdul Umala. At that time, they were trying to make sure that they build a team that was going on the continent. But I think they realized it's not done that way. You have to, improve season by season with time. And this is how far they've come. They are now in the semi-finals. I think they invested right. They brought in Fiston Mayele from Young Africans. Many thought he would not, adjust immediately to the Egyptian Premier League, but he's been consistent since he joined them. Ramadan Sobi, for a very long time, has been has been touted as the future of Egyptian football. But of course, he's had his troubles. But he's settled well at Pyramids, and he's also been one of the guys who's been pulling strings for them. So you would argue that they've learnt a lot in their journey to reach this far, and they have the quality. That's why they were able to, kill off the tie in Egypt, winning by 4 goals to 1. So surely, as a matter of fact, Mayele didn't play in the return leg.
Despite scoring twice in the first leg.
Yes, because they sort of, knew that they had killed off the tie. So it's how far they can go from there. But I can tell you for sure, they're playing on paper. For me, Pirates are more organized than Pyramids. They are, I should say, the team has been together for a long time, and that's why Jose Ribeiro is able to give a very good account of himself. But it's football, you never know. Anything can happen, but I would fancy Pirates over Pyramids.
Yes, Peter, before we look at the actual topic of the day, the semi-finals, rather the quarterfinals in the Confederations Cup were also played, and of course the semi-final lineup we already know. And for me, the big story out of that is that Simba Sports Club from Tanzania, just next door here, were able to knock out Al Masry 4-1 on penalties after the tie was tied on aggregate 2-2. Of course, they lost the first leg in Cairo, came to the Benjamin Mkapa Stadium. They were able to do their job. I thought they would have finished it in normal time. It wasn't the case. They're into the semi-finals where they are going to be playing against Stellenbosch from South Africa. Debutants on the continent. They knocked out the defending champions, Zamalek, 1-0 on aggregate.
Yeah, I think the Stellies have done South Africa so proud because we all know the background of South African clubs on the continent, especially in the Confederation Cup. Not many have been able to progress so far. They've not really given that competition a lot of time and effort. But I think Stellenbosch decided to go all out and brought in a couple of players here and there from other teams in the PSL, and I'm proud that they've been able to to go this far. I mean, it takes investment, time, and of course efficiency for you to go this far in the CAF Confederation Cup. To eliminate the defending champions, beat them at the Cairo International Stadium by a goal to nil is a massive story. I know they scored, I think, in the 72nd minute. But, the fact that they played out a goalless draw in South Africa and beat Zamalek away by a goal to nil to advance on aggregate, you have to give them their flowers. They've done a very good job.
And of course, Simba Sports Club, of course, are doing what we thought Younger Sports Club were going to do for a long period of time when they got into the finals of the CAF Confederation Cup a few seasons ago. But it looks like Younger is declining and Simba is actually rising.
Yeah, for the Younger story this season, we know what happened. At the start of the season, they decided to have changes with the technical team. Miguel Gamondi, who won them the league, was sent packing. I think after a few bad results here and there, they brought in Sid Ramovic from South Africa. He was head coach at TS Galaxy. But when he also came in, he fumbled with the CAF Champions League group stages. We talked about Al Hilalia, who beat them on match day 1 in Dar es Salaam. They struggled against Mazembe. So basically, they failed to get out of the group. And their investment really went south. They brought in Klotos Chama at the start of the season, and you felt maybe the reason why they brought him was to help them in the Champions League. But he wasn't starting, I think, fitness issues and all. So the Youngers' campaign on the continent ended just right there.
Very early.
Very early. Simba, on the other hand, had good things going. Number one, they believed in Fadlu Davids. This is a coach who was at what's his club? Not Fast Rabat. I think it was at Raja Casablanca. And he led them to the domestic title last season, if I'm not mistaken. And he was brought in to actually manage them at Simba. And many questioned him, thought maybe he wasn't going to do a lot. But look how far Fadlu Davids has taken Simba. He's brought together a team that doesn't have so many big names. I think you only have Kapombe in there, a veteran. Aish Manula, who is not playing anymore, but is one of the goalkeepers. The rest, Stephen Mukwala, you have Anuha, you have the goalkeeper Kamara, who was in goal yesterday and saved a couple of penalties.
They have another goalkeeper, the name Lakred Ayoub, who is Moroccan, and doesn't even get to make the bench lately.
Yeah, I think he was...
You can imagine investing money in a Moroccan goalkeeper
and
who struggles to even make the matchday squad.
Yeah, but Fadlu Davids has decided to keep his squad together, and they have believed in him, and he has gone so far. Even when you look at the Tanzania Premier League table now, of course, Yanga have a few games in hand, but you can see they have pushed Yanga, all through. So very impressed with how Simba have done it. Simba playing at home have always wanted to push teams. I think I remember another comeback that they had was against Tinkana when John Boko was still there. I think Emmanuel Okuya and all. And they still came out on top and prevailed. Yesterday's game was an example of resilience and character. They score very early, Mpanzu, then Mukwala. The tie is 2-2 by end of first half. Second half, you could see they had run out of their legs. But still, when they went to the penalties, Kamara, their goalkeeper, came out on top. I'm impressed with how Simba have done business this season. I'm impressed with Fadlu Davids. And I think with this character, they can go so far.
They can go so far. Of course, they'll have to deal with Stellenbosch in the semi-finals to see if they can make the final. The other semi-final in the CAF Confederation Cup, Barkane did a knockout ASEC Mimosa at 2-0 on aggregate to make the semi-finals, where they'll be playing against Constantine, who knocked out USMG Alger 3-2 on aggregate. But of course, Peter, for me, the interesting story or the bigger story here, first of all, you have... There's an opportunity of having an all South African final in the Champions League. There's an opportunity of having an all Egyptian final in the Champions League. There's an opportunity of having 3 South African teams in the finals of the 2 competitions, 2 in the Champions League, 1 in the semi-final. And you're like, in the past, this really never used to happen. Outside Mamelodi Sundowns, the South African teams never really fancied to play on the continent. Probably they never took it serious, or they didn't know how to conduct themselves on the continent. Lately, the story has completely changed. Is it because of what Mamelodi Sundowns have been doing over the years, and now they feel that probably we can also get onto the continent and be the big boys? Or it is a case of there's more money when you get to play on the continent, and we need to tap into that money? Because the 4 teams that have made the semi-finals, each one of them is entitled to $1.2 million. That is even before they qualify for the finals.
Yeah, there's a number of factors why clubs from the South African League are performing well now on the continent. The first factor, I agree with you, Sundowns have, tried to show other teams in South Africa that it's possible. They've set the trend. They've played against opposition that many thought they would not win against, and they've come out on top. So that is a major factor. Other teams look at it and they're like, we can compete. But also, the amount of investment has increased. You talk about the money that CAF brings on table, but also there is money that is given to clubs at the start of the CAF inter-club competitions.
The 50K?
Yes, it wasn't the case. From wherever you are, from whichever club you are from, it adds something to you. You understand? If you're Stellenbosch, you're Orlando Pirates, yes, you have a good budget. That money that comes through is able to allow you negate whatever you have to negate. But also the investment in the league and the quality that is up there is also something that we need to talk about. If it's not the quality in the personnel, it's in the players, it's in the personnel. You look at Orlando Pirates today, Jose Ribeiro, the stability that he has had. He's been at Pirates for 3 years. He has not won the league. He has won all the domestic competitions, the MTN 8, the Nedbank Cup, and this has been over the 3 years he's been there with the same players. I mean, there's not been a lot of chop and change, at Pirates, and you can see that when a team is together for a long time, they're able to know what to do and execute. So that's also another factor that I can't write off. But also, you can see that when the quality of players is available, the teams are able to give a very good account of themselves. Not only at Pirates, even at Sundowns, even at Stellenbosch, even at Cape Town City. All these teams that finish in the top 8, apart from Kaizer Chiefs, who we all know are struggling, they have quite some decent players who can go on the continent and ask a few questions. But the PSL overall has also made it a point to invest more money in the league. The current TV rights sponsor, which is DSTV, brought a much more improved offer from the previous, TV rights holder that was in charge of the Premiership.
Okay, it is now Betway who are sponsoring the league.
Yeah, Betway,
the broadcasters.
Yeah, thank you very much. Betway brought a more improved offer from the one DSTV had.
Because at the time, DSTV were the broadcasters, at the same time, the title sponsors of the league.
Yes. So the money is reinvested back in the clubs, and that's the performance we are seeing today.
I remember a few years ago, I think Pitts had just won the Champions League with Mamelodi Sundowns, but also at the time, Sundowns, when TB Mazembe was now declining, Sundowns was one of those teams that were rubbing shoulders with the teams from the Maghrebs. And I remember Peter saying that we are closing the gap. we are closing the cup. He actually prophesied, is like, now it is Sundowns, but where we are going, you're going to see other teams are picking up. He talked about Pirates, he talked about Kaizer Chiefs and all the likes. Today, like we did say, you have 3 South African teams in the semi-finals of the inter-club competitions, and all of them to get here, they actually knocked out teams from the Maghreb. Of course, in the CAF Confederation Cup, Stellenbosch knocking out Zamalek, that is unheard of, especially if you're defeating them in Cairo.
Yeah.
South Africa knocking out Esperance. Every time they met Esperance at this stage, it looked like they had hit a wall. You have Orlando Pirates are knocking out MC Algiers. They are into the semi-finals. Of course, South Africa have to deal with Al Ahly. Orlando Pirates have to deal with Pyramids. But you feel that, of course, Sundowns already get into this stage when they're like, we've been here several times, we know what to do. If you're Pirates and you're the one knocking out MC Algiers, you're like, I knew what I did last time, I know what to do now. You just told us in the group stages that they had Al Ahly in there, and they actually defeated them home and away.
They defeated them in Cairo and in South Africa.
In Cairo and in South Africa. So you feel that they go into these semi-finals with their confidence high that they can actually do the job.
Yeah, I think when you keep doing the same thing over time, you get a lot of experience and confidence, and in turn, that is what helps you perform so well. So we are talking about, for example, the FIFA Club World Cup. Sundowns are not returning to that competition the same way they did in 2016 when Pitso Mosimane was head coach, when they had Kama Biliat, of course Onyango was, their number one, Antonio Lafo and all. It's going to be a different Sundowns. It's a Sundowns that has Ribeiro, one of the best players now on the continent, Allende, all these top players. So it's going to be a different performance, although they're also going to face top clubs. So over time, you pick a lot of experience, you base on that experience to perform well. The only challenge comes when you are chopping and changing in the personnel and the technical team. That becomes hard because then the group that you've had together for a while then can't play together and understand each other quickly.
That point, sorry to cut you short, that point you just gave, is it the one that is probably affecting now, let me say, teams like Yanga, teams like Simba, the failure to keep players together for a period of time, to hold into a coach and all that? Yeah,
for Simba, they're trying to bring in, they were trying to start a new era. They're done with, the Chamas, all those players that had been at the club for a long time. So you understand that they were trying to start a new era, bring in players who not many knew but who would perform well. And thank God they've sort of pushed and delivered so far in the season. For Yanga, it was an era for them to change their, technical team when the season was starting. They should have probably done that way before. But Gamondi comes back from holiday. He's ready to start the season. He starts the season, and then you change. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Now it didn't work for them. So they have to sit with that and then wait for the season to end and see what happens next. But it will be one of the toughest pills, or it will be so hard for Yanga to take it in if Simba go the one win the Confederation Cup.
Especially if they got there. Was it against Kaizer Chiefs? Was it against who? When Yanga got into the finals of the Confederation Cup and they failed.
It was against USM Alger.
Yeah, USM Alger.
Yeah, they
knocked out Kaizer Chiefs.
Yeah,
to get into the finals.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
Peter, as we wind up, of course, we're asking ourselves some of the reasons why teams have started taking the competition on the African continent are very serious. And just looking at the numbers, between 1997 and 2008, the winner of the Champions League was taking home $1 million. The runners-up were taking home $750,000 US. The semi-finalists, $427,000 US. The teams that finished third in the group are $261,000 US, and the fourth team in the group was taking home $190,000 US. Between 2019 and 2016, the champion of the Champions League was taking home $1.5 million US. The runners-up were taking home $1 million US. The semi-finalists are $700,000 US. The team that finished third in the group, $500,000, and the team that finished fourth in the group, $400,000 US. 2017 and 2021, the winners of the Champions League were taking home $2.5 million US. The runners-up were taking home $1.25 million US. Semi-finalists $875,000 US. The quarter-finalists $650,000 US. The team that finished third in their groups and fourth in their groups were taking home $550,000 US. Presently, from 2023 to now, the winners of the Champions League take home $4 million US. The runners-up take home $2 million US. The semi-finalists take home $1.2 million US. The quarter-finalists take home $900,000 US. The team that finishes third and fourth in their groups take home $700,000 US. And you talked about the $50,000 US for the preliminary stages.
Yes.
Now, you look at this money, and probably everyone who never used to take this competition serious back in the day, 5, 6, or 10 years ago, they're like, we actually need to be part of this cake because it tastes this delicious. $4 million US is no mean feat.
No,
for somebody
on the continent, it's no mean feat. It's money you can use to balance your books, after the season, because usually the Champions League final happens when the campaign is about to come to an end. So it's money that you can reinvest in a club and see how far it goes. Even more for a team that is financially stable like Mamelodi Sundowns or even Orlando Pirates. So for me, there's been a very huge shift in the monetary value attached to competing in the CAF interclub competitions. And so far with the money that you've read out, for me, there's no better motivation.
There's no better motivation. But probably lastly, our director is saying it's time up.
Yeah.
CAF has released new rankings for the clubs. Only 75 clubs are ranked on the continent, and there is only one Ugandan club, Vipers, a sports club, who are ranked, I'm trying to get the exact ranking, who are ranked 57 on the African continent. There is no Kenyan club. I've not seen it anywhere. There is no Rwandan club. There is no Burundian club. But going at the top, Al Ahly still up there. Mamelodi Sundowns have improved from 4th to 2nd position on the continent. Esperance have improved, by the way, to 3rd on the continent. Then, interestingly, you have Simba Sports Club ranked 4th on the continent. As it stands at the moment, Simba Sports Club qualifies to play in the 2029 FIFA Club World Cup,
Where they will earn
close to $50 million US.
Yeah, so
Actually, that is a starting fee.
Yeah. So when we talk about, first of all, the league being invested in financially for clubs to be able to support each other, but also for clubs to bring in foreign players in the league so that the competitiveness goes up. The rewards are what you're just breaking down, and that's what Simba has done. And we can all agree that over the years, Modeuja has invested a lot of money. And usually, we only look at the finish line.
He has not only invested, he has done so many things, to the extent of getting pissed as a fan when they get knocked out of the Mapinduzi Cup.
Yeah.
He resigns as chairman. A few hours later, he resets himself as chairman. But without a doubt, he has invested a lot.
Yeah, so the rewards are there for everyone to see. And like they say, football doesn't lie. For you to benefit from football, you have to invest for you to actually get that match. So I think Simba on their way there. I don't see them stopping, especially since they're now in the semi-finals of the CAF Confederation Cup. They're going to put everything on the line. I mean, they put everything in 2023 when they lost to Raja Casablanca on penalties. In away, it was tough one there for them. But here, I think they're going to invest everything to make sure they either reach the final or win the competition. Yeah.
By the way, just to shed a little bit more light as we wind up, Africa has 4 slots at the FIFA Club World Cup. This current tournament that will be happening in the USA, those 4 slots are occupied by Al Ahly, Mamelodi Sundowns, Wydad Casablanca, and Esperance. One of the qualifications to that competition is winning the CAF Champions League. And I think Al Ahly has won 3 or 2 of the previous 4 editions. Now, the other qualification is by ranking. And that is how teams like Mamelodi Sundowns, who last won this competition in 2016, find themselves in that position, because they have always been performing semi-finals, quarterfinals, and all that, and have managed to keep themselves in the top 4. So when I say, as it stands, Simba qualifies for the next edition of the FIFA Club World Cup, they just need to keep on performing well on the continent. If they get to win the Champions League, then that is automatic qualification. If they don't get to win the Champions League, and probably there are other teams.
The Confederation Cup.
It's actually the Champions League. the Champions League first. So they just need to keep themselves in there, and probably they'll be playing at the biggest club competition in the world in 2019. But of course, that's all the time we had for you today on the show. Peter Andes, Olinaka Tedekeka.
Yeah, Pitchside is on YouTube just like CK Sports is. But again, just to appreciate everyone that, you know, catches up on all sports content shared by sports creators or journalists, Pitchside, CK Sports. We just appreciate the love. So keep sharing, keep commenting. Yeah, keep pushing the content so that we grow all of us as a brand.
Thank you very much, Peter. And yes, that's all the time we had for you today on the show. Just to emphasize what Peter said, remember to subscribe. Just click that subscribe button. It will take you less than a second. If you have any queries, any feedback, feel free to hit the comment section, but also the likes. And yes, you feel free to share this content with whoever you feel will enjoy it. Clef Chaze is my name. I've been in good company of Peter Tabu. Greetings from wherever you've been watching us from, and yes, I'll catch you again in the next episode.